Next, Mary Backstage, Noble Wife, the story of America's favorite family of the Footlights and of their fight for security and happiness against the concrete heart of Broadway. Today, the Russian trawler, which picked up Mary, Harry, Calvin, Pop, and Miss Rogers at sea, has just docked at Rose Wharf in Boston. And our friends are awaiting instructions on proceeding through customs as we hear.
Well, we just have to follow orders now. They said to leave by this gangplank and proceed directly to that door over there where it says U.S. Customs.
I discovered that we weren't standing on the orlop deck. That's the lowest deck on a war vessel.
Well, I don't know.
Where they keep cables coiled up. We were on the forward poop.
I thought we were, not on an orlop desk.
No, it didn't seem like an orlop deck to me. Oh, I see what you mean, Miss Rogers.
What does she mean? I don't know, Ike.
That band assembled there on the dock.
Oh, is that for us, do you suppose?
I don't know. They're waving at us.
Are you waiting? Hello. We're the Backstages.
I'm Harry Backstage, famous Broadway star. This is my wife, Mary Backstage.
I'm Mary Backstage.
I'm not a Backstage, really. I'm Calvin L. Hooverman.
I'm a Pop, beloved stage door man. I'm also in Westchester Furioso, where I tap dance. That's Miss Rogers, who's going to be added to the cast by Greg. Greg, there's Greg down there on the dock.
Hi, guys.
Hey, Greg.
Gals. Welcome to Boston.
Well, we're happy to be here. You wouldn't know what we've been through. We were taken out of Mystic Seaport by Captain...
Well, hold it. Wait till you get through customs and you can tell me everything.
Yes. How soon do we depart the vessel?
Well, as soon as you can get off. As soon as you get an okay from the captain, you can... Can you hear me up there?
Yes, yes.
As soon as you get the okay from the captain, you can leave the vessel.
Well,
Okay, strike up the band. Brought a little band along for you.
hey, that's a very nice touch, Mr. Barlow. A real musical welcome here in Boston. Oh,
Oh,
yeah.
I have a message for you, Miss Rogers. No, I don't know. I'll see you when you get through customs.
Captain, I wonder if we could have the right to leave the ship, to disembark now.
Do not proceed.
Thank you
Stay
very
here.
much. And again, thank you for saving
Thank
us. Go ahead, Mary. You first.
All right.
Now me. All right, now we just go through that door over there. Greg,
Here,
how are you?
let me hold the door for you. There you are.
Come right in here, ladies and gentlemen.
Oh, hello, sir. We just got off this Russian fishing trawler, and they told us we had to go through customs now.
That's right. Well, it's just a mere formality. My name is Mr. O'Reilly. I'm the customs inspector here. Do you have any luggage? No, I'm afraid
we don't. You see, do you have time for a story? Because we have a long one to tell you, sir.
Well, wait till I get Mr. Marlowe. He'll hear it at the same time. You won't have to tell it twice. Mr. Marlowe?
I better stay in back of the counter. I don't want to go through customs.
Well, it's just a formality.
Uh-huh.
Let me have that can of spray deodorant there, will you, please?
There you are.
All right.
What in the world is that?
Well, we do this to anybody coming into the country from a foreign vessel.
Oh, hey.
All right. Now,
Well,
do you want to tell that long story while Mr. Marlowe can hear it?
You got this
All
stuff all over me.
Well, that's an old suit anyway.
Well,
Calvin.
I know it's an old suit, but who needs that all over you?
Well, you see, we stopped at Mystic Seaport, Connecticut.
Oh, smell like a gasoline tank. What's in that stuff, anyway?
Oh, it's a chemical of some kind.
What, does it kill all walking insects or something?
That's right. And it has a very pleasant odor, too, you'll notice.
Not particularly.
Well, anyway, we were shanghaied by Captain Larson aboard the whaling boat, the Morgan, the Charles W. Morgan. He was going to Yokohama.
That's right. He's going to go to Yokohama. Then he put us over the side in the dinghy when we explained to him our situation.
Then we were picked up by the Russian fishing boat, the captain of which you just saw there on the orlop deck.
Is that, do you follow?
Yes, I think I've got the story. Have you, Mr. Marlowe?
Why, I guess I understand it. Oh, Miss Rogers, I have information for you. You must return to New York immediately.
And And so our friends have arrived in Boston and are proceeding through customs. You want to be here tomorrow when we'll hear Greg Marlowe say,
Miss Rogers, you must return to New York. It's very important.
that's tomorrow in the next exciting episode of Mary Backstage Noble Wife. Word Carr speaking. Now, I understand you listened to the Bob and Ray show and then you listened to another radio program.
Yes, I did. I compared the two.
And what were the results of your comparison?
Well,
Which one did you like better?
the Bob and Ray show.
And would you tell us why, sir?
Yes, because they averaged 27.3 miles per gallon.
And now, the makers of grime, the magic shortening that spreads like lard, invite you to join us for another episode of The Gathering Dusk. As we look in on the Bessinger household today, Edna is still bedridden. It's late afternoon, and Mr. Fairfax, the crusading editor of the Red Boiling Springs newspaper, is just entering the room.
Oh, crusading editor Fairfax. It was good of you to come over so quickly.
Well, I consider myself a public servant, Edna. When you called, I felt it my duty to come. After all, you've been a loyal subscriber to the Red Boiling Springs Weekly Clarion and Express Herald for a good many years now.
Yes, I always get a lot of enjoyment out of your paper. All except the crossword puzzles. I do get pretty peeved about them.
Well, what's wrong with our crossword puzzles? We haven't had any other complaints.
Well, they just have words in them that no one could possibly know. Now, last week, a 5-letter word for South American anteater. My lands, this is a Midwestern farming community. Did you ever see a South American anteater around here?
No. Well, I suppose they're all in South America.
Well, that's what I mean. I must have asked 5 or 6 people about that word, and not one of them knew. You should stick to pigs and cows and sheep and things like that.
Well, of course, most people use a dictionary or an encyclopedia for words they don't know in crossword puzzles.
Well, that seems like cheating to me. I remember Daddy used to work crossword puzzles, and he'd never use a dictionary.
I also remember that your father would call me up in the middle of the night whenever he'd get stuck on a crossword puzzle. He was a queer duck.
I always looked upon him as a leading citizen.
I'll never forget the time he put window boxes on that Pierce Arrow of his. And then he'd have to stop driving the thing because geraniums grew up in front of the windshield and he couldn't see out.
Well, he was a little bit eccentric about some things, I suppose.
Yes, he was. But I'm sure you didn't call me over here just to talk about your father, Edna. Is there something I can do for you?
Yes, there is, crusading editor Fairfax. I know how your paper has been campaigning against gambling houses in this county, and I thought you should know that there's one of them going full tilt, right upstairs over my room.
Oh, that's impossible, Edna. There's nothing above this room except an attic. There isn't even a stairway leading up to it.
I hear the dice rolling up there every night, sometimes until 3 or 4 in the morning.
Well, must be squirrels rolling acorns across the floor. Everybody in town knows you have squirrels in your attic.
My lands, I'll bet that's what it is. Well, you've really taken a tremendous load off my mind, crusading editor Fairfax. I almost feel as if I'm no longer standing in the gathering dusk.
Ladies, there's nothing worse than a shortening that's filled with little pieces of fur and steel filings. That's why you'll go for grime, the magic shortening that spreads like lard. Try some today and be sure to join us next time when Edna goes to the village in the gathering dusk. Now it's time for another informative session with Dr. Elmer Stapley, the word wizard. Dr. Stapley is one of the nation's leading authorities on the meaning and derivation of English words, and he's here to answer questions that you listeners send in about our language and its correct use. You ready to set forth on the first question, Doctor?
Well, Mr. Elliott, your inquisitory remark is not only grammatically implausible, but mathematically resplendent as well. One can't set fourth on the first question because fourth is the number between third and fifth, while first is right before second and after 0, which is purely a hypocritical figure. Thus, fourth, you're asking me to do numbers out of their natural consequence. Do I make myself understated?
Well, not quite, no, but as long as we're into this thing, might as well have you set forth on the first question. To open up this week's session, I have this letter from a woman in Illinois who writes,
Why do people riding horseback shout whoa when they want the animal to stop?
Well, I think this woman has just heard a shortified version of the whole thing. Many people who get on a horse for the first time soon wish they hadn't. So they're really shouting, woe is me. But, of course, they usually fall off the horse before they have time to yell anything more than just whoa.
Doctor, I've heard people shout whoa who didn't fall off the horse at all. Don't you want to reconsider your answer?
No, I'll remain disconnected.
All right. Well, I was hoping that's the way you'll remain. You never seem to, though. So we'll take up another question right after we hear this.
Next, Mary Backstage, Noble Wife, the story of America's favorite family of the footlights and their fight for security and happiness against the concrete heart of Broadway.
At the immigration station on Rose Wharf in Boston, Mary, Harry, Pop Calvin, and Miss Rogers have just passed through customs. Now we hear Greg Marlowe explaining why Miss Rogers must return to New York and not appear in Westchester Furioso.
I've made arrangements with a psychiatrist in New York, Miss Rogers, who assures me that with proper treatment, he can take care of your dippa-dippa-does, your dippa-dippa-doos.
Say, that's wonderful news, Greg. Oh, I see Miss Rogers is very happy to hear that news.
Yes, he said a matter of 3 or 4 weeks, and he thinks he can steer you out of that. It's a mental block with you, he said, and he thinks he can straighten it out.
It only happens when she tries to talk, you know. She can sing perfectly.
And unfortunately, Miss Rogers, we'll have to eliminate you, of course, from the touring Westchester Furioso. But I want you to know this, Miss Jerry Rogers, that we've admired your spunk, and you've added a lot to Westchester Furioso the short time that we considered having your song in the show.
Yes, that goes for me too, Greg, although I can't say it the same for Mary. I guess she's a little bit relieved to see Miss Rogers leave the cast.
Oh,
right?
I don't know. I just hope that Miss Rogers gets her dippa-dippa-doo straightened out, and maybe she could join us when we get up to Vermont or up Cape Cod later with Westchester Furioso.
Going to miss hearing that song that you added to the show. Do you suppose she could sing it one more time?
Wait a minute, Miss Rogers, speaking for the rest of the cast of Westchester Furioso, before you leave to have your dippa-dippa-dups and your dippa-dippa-doos repaired, I wonder, would you favor us once more with that song that you sang?
Yeah, we'd love to hear it
Beautiful
again.
Missouri.
Would you do it for us?
Dippa-dippa-doo, dippa-dippa-da.
So strange, she could sing so well.
It's part of a mental block.
Where enchantment surrounds you, merely taking your breath away. Friendly people will greet you with their smiles warm and tenderly. It's a bit of paradise underneath Missouri skies, Missouri for me.
Oh, that was great, Miss Rogers. Thank you.
Dippa-dippa-da.
And we'll all miss you, but
Dippa-doo.
good luck. Dippa-doo to you, too.
Yeah, dippa-dippa-dippa to you, Miss Rogers, and we'll see you again real soon.
Now we're off for Chelsea. And so our friends have arrived in Boston. You want to be here tomorrow when we'll hear Greg Marlowe say,
On stage, everybody.
that's tomorrow in the next exciting episode of Mary Backstage, Noble Wife. Word Carr speaking. Let's move along to another question with Dr. Elmer Stapley, the word wizard. This is from a man in Texas who writes, I keep getting cards in the mail with holes punched in them. And up at the top, they always say, do not fold, spindle, or mutilate. I can understand about not folding and spindling, but I thought mutilation was merely what you did to take 4 times 8 and get 32. and that seems harmless. Can you explain the term so I'll understand why they won't let me mutilate if I want to?
Well, actually, I've never seen that phrase printed on anything I get in my mail. People who write to me always begin by saying, "Dear occupant."
Yeah, that's a new one on me too, Doctor. Probably just another of those quaint things that people in Texas say to each other, huh? So let's move along to another question. It is from a lady in North Dakota. She says, my husband and I have been invited to go clear down to Bismarck for a party at the governor's mansion. Naturally, I want to appear cultured when I'm introduced to the governor. Should I say, it ain't often that riffraff, the likes of us, goes partying? Or is it more proper to say, it pleasures us right smart to be allowed in your parlor this away?
Well, I think she should just hand the governor a printed card that says, "I do not speak English."
Yeah, I think that's a good tactic to employ when in doubt. I always use cards like that when people from the IRS come around. And they should work just as well as the governor of North Dakota, I guess. So I'm sure that woman's problem is solved, and thanks to you for stopping by and helping her and the other afflicted listeners.
Not at all. I was mortified to come.
Hope all of you will join us again at another time for another informative session with Dr. Elmer Stapley, the Word Wizard.
Close in 5 minutes.